Hello, this is Professor BRB, and in this lesson we're going to be learning several interesting new skills, including how to copy objects, how to use the pencil tool, how to use the new shape builder tool, and how to work with gradient fills. So stay tuned. First thing that we're going to do is draw a circle. If you go up here to where your rectangle tool is and hold down, you can get your ellipse tool. Or as you see here, you can just hit L on the keyboard and draw a circle, holding down your Shift key to constrain it to a perfect circle. Now I had my fill green from something I was just doing, and I'm just going to change this right now to no fill. And that way I see the grid and I can kind of still see my template. Now what I really want to do in case I need to use this circle again is I'm going to make a copy of it. And that's very, very easy to do in Illustrator. It's called option dragging. And with my selection tool, my black arrow tool here, I just grab the little point in the middle of my circle and I hold down my option key, and you'll see that my cursor will change when I push my option key down. You see how my cursor became double? And then I'm going to hold down my Shift key to constrain the movement to absolutely straight so it doesn't move up and down. I just want to keep it on the same level. And I move it over to this new position, and then I have to release my mouse button before I release the keys. And now I have a copy. So I still have my original circle, and I have a new circle. All I want to do now is use the bounding box, which is this selection frame that occurs around my ellipse. And that will be there automatically. It's automatically selected when you have drawn it. The bounding box is red because this layer is red, and it really doesn't affect the printing at all. It just is to help you see things while you're working. And if your bounding box is another color, don't worry about it. If you don't see your bounding box under View, go ahead and just hit Show Bounding Box if somehow that got hidden, and then you'll see it. So go ahead and with your selection tool, just go to the edge here, and if I just move this over, it squeezes it that way, and that's not exactly what I want. So I'm going to hold down my Option key, which makes it scale from the center. And it just gives me a better amount of control to do what I want to do. So go ahead and pull down your circle to more of an ellipse to match the green ellipse there. And now we're going to option drag. It's called option dragging. Shift option drag it again and make another copy. Now we're going to make a triangle using the polygon tool, which is right here. And the polygon tool, I was using it before, so I had already taken it down to a triangle. But when you start to draw, you'll get various kinds of polygons here, of sides. And if while your mouse button is held down, you just keep hitting the down arrow key on your keyboard, it will reduce it to the minimum, which is a triangle. And if it's not quite where you want it to be on the page, just go ahead and hold down your shift bar, and then you can move it around as long as you keep your keyboard down. And then you can kind of move it around and get it just where you want it to be. And holding the Shift key down will straighten it out and level it. So now I have these two, but they're not quite perfectly centered to each other. And I just want to show you how to use the Align tools to center two shapes to each other. When I select them, you might notice up here in this panel, which is called the Control panel, this strip here is the Control panel in Illustrator. I'm in my selection tool right now. I'm going to click off and look up here and notice that it's really information that mostly relates to my document. But the minute that I select these two shapes, I get these align controls. And right over here is the preferences for this. And I want to make sure this is set to align to selection. I've got it like that. all I have to do is click here, horizontal align center, and it centers these perfectly to each other. So that's great. I've got them both selected still, and what I want to do is merge them into one shape like this. So that's pretty easy to do. I just go over to the fabulous new Shape Builder tool, which I'm really a fan of. This came in somewhere around CS6, and I love the Shape Builder tool. It's right down here. Go ahead and select that tool, and then all you have to do is click and drag over selected shapes, and it will merge them into one shape. So that works out really, really well. Now, I didn't do it on the template, but actually, if you wanted to, you could even go one step further here if you took the last tutorial. And with the direct selection tool, the white arrow, if you selected those two bottom points, you could round that out a little bit if you wanted to. You don't have to, it's just a suggestion. So now we've drawn our balloon. This is pretty great, but it doesn't look very much like a balloon because it doesn't have a fill. So with that selected, we're just going to go over to our swatches panel, which is right over here. And by the way, if you cannot find your panels, you can always find them under Window, and they're alphabetized. So you can pull up the swatches panel over here as well. And if you open this up, I've put some gradients if you have my file, which you can download from the link on my YouTube channel. And I put some radial gradients in here. So you can just pick a gradient. Pick a gradient, any gradient, whichever one you like. They're all fine. Let's use the red one. And the only other thing to do right here is I don't like that the center of the gradient is like right in the middle. I don't think that looks good. So I'm just going to very quickly use the gradient tool, which you can get to just by keyboarding G. And you will see that this little slider comes up that shows me where the center of my gradient is. And I can make all kinds of live adjustments here. I can just move this around till it's where I want it to be. And I think that looks a lot better. When I select this, I also want to get rid of the black outline because I don't think I need it anymore. So right up here are my fill controls and my stroke controls. So you can see I have the gradient right there, and control the stroke. I just go to the stroke control and it brings up my swatches panel, and I just get rid of that stroke. So now this is great. If I want another balloon, I just hold down my option key, I option drag, and that makes a copy of it. And this technique is used all the time. I don't know if you've seen the Pixar movie Up, but if you did, you might have noticed all those balloons, and I'm sure that the production crew of Up drew one balloon and then made many, many copies of it. And one thing that's kind of nice is if you notice when I changed the gradient on this second copied balloon, that the adjustment I made to the position of the gradient held, even though I had made it a different gradient color. So it doesn't really at that point matter which of the gradients you use, it's still going to have the highlight in the same place, which I think is kind of cool. So now we're going to learn to use the pencil tool just to draw our little string here, and then we will be done. So let's pull this over here, and let's go to the blue gradient. And what I want to do now is just draw this little squiggly line. So I'm going to click off to deselect this. That's important, otherwise the pencil tool gets confused. And over here you have your pencil tool. And if we go and pull this off, we'll have the pencil tool. Now, if you have the template, don't get confused and try and use this down here, because this is just a screenshot and you have to make sure you have the live tool or you're going to really confuse yourself. So here's your pencil tool. You select that. It could also just be through N. And let's zoom in. You can see what we're doing. And before we start drawing, we'll check and see here that we have right now no stroke and no fill. And you can see that down here too. And let's leave no fill, but let's go to the stroke and just choose one of these brown colors, whatever you think is a good string color right there. And that will give us a brown line. So going back to your pencil tool, just kind of grab it and hold down your mouse button and draw. So first we're going to draw this little curvy line here and release the mouse button and then click on it again and you can draw your string. If the string doesn't come out exactly the way you want, you can make a couple of attempts. I didn't really like that one, so I'm going to kind of work with it till I like the way it looks. You can also control the way the pencil tool works. If you double click on it, you can move this slider around to smooth, and that will make the pencil tool draw a little bit of a smoother kind of a line. And you can kind of work with that and get it to work the way you want. Also, if you happen to draw a line that is a little bit kinkier than you want, you have this smooth tool here, and you can kind of scribble over it and smooth your pencil tool lines out a little bit and kind of see how they work. So we have a great looking balloon and a string now, and all we really have to do to make a whole bunch of balloons is Option drag and Option drag, and we can change the color of every balloon. And of course we can draw a different string if we want, or just to quickly introduce the Reflect tool. We go here under the Rotate tool. I'm holding down my Option key and clicking here. I can reflect that string to look like it's coming off the other side. So you could draw as many balloons as you want and make whatever modifications you want. And next, our next tutorial is going to be drawing a simple heart. So I hope you'll join me for that one.